So another reactor type very excited about is X-Energy's high-temperature gas reactor, and a good friend of mine, Jeff Harper, will be presenting on that next. He's the Vice President for Strategy and Business Development at X-Energy, and prior to joining X-Energy, Jeff worked at Westinghouse on a pebble bed reactor there. Prior to Westinghouse, he was founder and CEO of a niche global engineering firm with 100 full-time staff, including clients in the U.S. Department of Energy, the Czech Republic Nuclear Power Company, Lockheed Martin, and Bechtel. Also served as a vendor inspector for the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, where he did inspections and audits of nuclear power plants and vendors. He's an engineer, metallurgical engineer, and also has his MBA from Harvard Business School. Let's welcome Jeff Harper.
Thank you so much, and it's very good to be here. Thanks a lot for allowing me to come and speak. Very good job, Rio. Appreciate everything you've done. In the spirit of the U.S. Secretary of Perry mantra there is to make nuclear cool again. But I think Eric did that for us, right? He made nuclear really cool again. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm not going to be before you long. What we like to do is to show you a short video clip. I think it's about 3 or 4 minutes. And it pretty much tells you a little bit more about the technology and why we chose to do this in the first place. Okay, so far, there we go.
Nuclear material, whether it's uranium or it's thorium, they came as a result of star explosions that, has come to Earth from other places in our galaxy. If we are able to harvest that energy in a safe manner, it has incredible amount of energy that can satisfy, energy needs of the planet in a very clean and safe way.
I think one of the key goals that we have is to really transform nuclear energy. And to transform something, you need to say where you're moving away from.
There's this perception on the planet in terms of nuclear, right? Nuclear has a bad name because of its safety.
People might ask, but why is your reactor so safe? Why is it called intrinsically safe? The maximum fuel temperature seen in our reactor during normal operation is about 856 degrees C, and during an accident condition, the temperature is such that it will never lead to fuel damage. And that's experimentally proven.
We're in the position with this technology where we can say a meltdown is actually physically impossible.
A pebble bed reactor is sort of like a cylindrical gumball machine. You have this cylinder, which is made out of graphite, filled with spherical pebbles. You put fresh pebbles in at the top. They work their way down just by gravity to the bottom of the reactor, and then they come out.
So one pebble will be producing the same energy as 8.525 metric tons of coal. When burning 8.525 metric tons of coal, you will also be producing 27.2 metric tons of CO2 and 8.9 metric tons of ash.
What's also beautiful about the pebble format is that it actually is a very good long-term storage container.
Plant's designed for a 40-year lifetime, and pebbles go right into a storage cask, and then the storage cask is stored on site of the reactor.
So we never open up the reactor, we never open up the fuel. It's a very well-packaged long-term storage solution.
So not only we produce electricity, we can also provide hot steam.
Having one of these reactors in an industrial area that delivers process heat for industrial applications, it's a game changer.
What happens down on the steam side is actually a variable that we can adapt based on the client needs. So we can also configure the plant to really optimize the combination of generating electricity and providing heat for desalination. Having the ability to desalinate water cheaply and in conjunction with generating power, I think is very valuable.
Plutonium isotopes that are formed in this kind of reactor, in the spectrum that we're talking about, are essentially impossible to weaponize.
If you would want to proliferate fuel, you would want to find the fuel with the highest concentration. And you'd need a truckload of this stuff to try and get anything out of it.
So this technology can actually be deployed in places where, putting transmission lines, etc., the infrastructure is difficult.
One of the key drivers to uplifting societies is providing them with power. If we look at traditional nuclear, the costs are $7 to $10 billion for a 2-unit nuclear plant. There are very few countries in the world that can actually afford that. So having the ability to have smaller footprint offerings you can distribute to local power centers is a big advantage. This is where I think we can make a difference in the rest of the world.
When you don't have power, and you don't have electricity, you don't have education. When you don't have power, you don't have clean water. In fact, there are studies that's been done where they have connected the standard of living with kilowatt power.
If we're successful, I think it will spawn, a whole chain reaction of innovation and growth, not only for jobs, but for advancement of developing countries.
The United States wants to be an energy leader. We need to take initiatives, and many countries are now, are ahead of us in that.
If one thinks of the jobs that have been taken away effectively from the US, and it's all moved towards Asia. So you look today at Korea. They've effectively built an industry which today can compete with the American industry.
I really believe we are in the energy race now. And I really believe we need our government support and help for technologies like us to prosper.
It was almost like a mission. It was almost like a calling at some point that we wanted to bring this technology to market.
That's what I'm trying to do, is really play a positive role in helping with that, so that we don't just leave this planet to ruins.
The Einstein saying of continuing to do the same thing, expecting different results, I think that's what's going on if we continue to use fossil fuel and natural gas, which all sort of are not clean. So we got to do something differently.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, just a quick word or two about the company, and then we're happy to take questions. This is the management team that you pretty much saw in the film itself. The gentleman who basically spoke the most is the owner, Cam Grafarian. He's actually put his money where his mouth is in terms of investing in X Energy. He spent pretty much close to $34 million of its own money since 2009 to bring this technology to fruition. And what you'll notice here, I don't know whether to be proud of it or whatnot, but we're all sort of graying except for myself, which I don't have any hair. But pretty veteran team here in the nuclear space, and actually specifically to advanced reactors, as our CNO Eben Milner there has actually worked in the German HCGR reactors. And as you all probably know, or maybe you don't, Germany was a pioneer in this technology back in the 60s and 70s with 2 reactors. They had the AVR reactor and the THTR reactor collectively, which operated some 20 years. So our thing is truly not being, as my colleague from Terrestrial said, a research project. We are really innovators, and our challenge is really bringing the economics to the table and bringing a little bit of advancements in the fuel area to the table and deploy as soon as we can. I'm going to skip that one. I just want to make a quick mention about the technology. The film that you saw was somewhat dated. We need to redo that film. It gave you the general idea of how our machine, our technology works. I won't go through that again. But currently, in the film, we talked about a 125 megawatt thermal machine. Actually, we've upgraded that now to a 200 megawatt thermal machine, and we did that in order to get the economics. Right now, we're looking at an $84 per megawatt hour economics on it, and we're looking to improve that. So this would be our base case here. And as you can see, we get steam temperatures of 565 C, which is important for applications. And, you know, truly the innovation, I think, is in the pebble there. That pebble is really fantastic. I mean, it's, I say a pebble, it's the size of a billiard ball. Basically, if you look at a billiard ball, that's what you're really looking at in terms of that pebble. And just to put this in perspective, I know we talked about this in the film a bit, but one of those billiard balls, okay, heavy metal loading, or that uranium, 7% or 7 grams of uranium, look how much carbon that you displace and ash that you displace. Quite remarkable. For one of our machines, we're looking at about 220,000 of these pebbles, okay? And again, actually the film talked about a 40-year life, and we've redesigned it now with the 200 megawatt thermal, so we can get a 60-year life now. And what we do is we cycle those pebbles through 6 times. The old design was once, one in and out, okay, once in and out. But we recycle them now. And each pebble will stay in the reactor about 3.5 years. Okay, so anyway, it's a pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool technology, and you know, basically, we know it works. I mean, that's one of the things that a guy by the name of Admiral Rickover, Hyman Rickover, who was the father of the U.S. nuclear navy, which actually then he also championed the United States commercial industry, commercial nuclear industry. One of his things was that all paper reactors work. So, you know, we are pretty confident that, you know, we can make claims that we can substantiate through the German experience, then through the South African experience, which you heard a lot of the guys on the film here are South Africans, which we imported from South Africa to help us out. And then actually through the Chinese experience, we know this works. So it's a matter of bringing it to market as soon as possible, which we look at between, it's going to be the late 20s, so anywhere between 2025 and 2030. We like to say in public 2030, but since you all are my friends, I'll say that it's between 25 and 30. Anyway, what the really exciting thing about advanced reactors, of course, as we've heard, you know, constant refrain, is that you can use them for other things and applications besides electricity. And so if you see here, I tried to plot out our steam temperatures go to 660 or 565 C, and you're looking at the conventional light water reactors to 220 or 250 C, and look what you can get when you do that. You can district heating's in the conversation, desal. And it goes, you know, on to oil refinery, et cetera. So, I mean, I think that's terribly exciting that we can do this and, you know, make some progress in eliminating CO2 emissions. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Jeff.